Probably the first and the only son of a god and immortal. This one man did more to change the face of Absalom than anyone in the history of the world. Greetings and welcome back to my channel, guys. How are you doing today? I hope the hiatus was good for you all, and I am glad to be back. Now in this video we are going to discuss the son of Ariakan Ariakas. His name is Ariakan Ariakas. Now let's dive deep into one of the more influential characters in the world of Krynn. Ariakan, who has been described as being tall, tanned, and particularly handsome, was a well-muscled individual with the physique of a warrior and an imposing presence, who had penetrating dark eyes who could see into a man's soul. The general was intelligent, powerful, a peerless swordsman, a brilliant commander and strategist, who happily learned from his enemies and improved on their tactics. Now, as a young man, Ariakan was trained as a warrior by his father and served directly under his father's command in the Red Dragon Army during the War of the Lands. The young fighter earned a reputation as being bold and courageous warrior on the field of battle and was respected by both his allies and his enemies. In the closing stages of the War of the Lands, Ariakas was finally overwhelmed by the Knights of Solamnia and captured in the Temple of Naraka in the year 352 AC, and was then taken back to the High Clerist's Tower, where he was kept as a prisoner of war. Now this is extremely important, because up until now he was just a warrior, very smart and cunning, but still only a warrior. After his capture is where everything changes, and during his tenure under the watch of the Solamnic Knights, Ariakan studied his captors and their honorable ways, musing how different they were from the dragon armies, and also well aware that the ultimate flaw with the dragon armies was the notion that evil always turns on itself. Ariakan learned as much as he could from the Solamnic Knighthood during this time, becoming such an eager student that the knights were only too pleased to teach him about the oath and the measure, as well as the structure of the knighthood. And in 2 short years after his capture, Ariakan was believed to be fully rehabilitated and was offered his release. However, he chose to stay with the knights and continue studying from them. It is believed that during this time he was even offered a chance to join the Knighthood of Solamnia, which he obviously refused, but very kindly 5 years after his capture, with his studies on the knighthood complete, many of the resident knights calling him a friend and considering him a scholar and a skilled fighter. And as Ariakan left the High Clerist's Tower, he rode out onto the Solamnic plains. He lost his Solamnic escort and made his way to Naraka. And on that journey he nearly perished and was offered aid by his mother Zibuim, and eventually made his way to a cave that would later be named Ariakan's Rest. That night, the Dark Queen had appeared to him, asking Ariakan what did he learn from the knights during his capture, and Ariakan related his experience, telling the Queen Takhisis of his dream to create a new order of knighthood, a dark knighthood formed loosely around the Solamnic ideals, ensuring that his knighthood will be steadfast and extremely honorable. Ariakan explains to Takhisis that his knighthood will be based around 3 things: the vision, the blood oath, and the code. The Dark Queen was pleased with Ariakan and gave him her blessing, requesting that he create his knighthood and conquer the lands for her. As Ariakan returns to Naraka, he starts gathering the surviving remnants of his father's closest followers, and then he starts recruiting boys across the land for his new cause, which included one lad in the name of Steel Brightblade. At this time, he also took Steel's adopted mother, Sarah Dunstan, as his lover, who also served as the cook for the newly recruited boys. As Ariakan's followers grew, he set forth from the mainland and located a distant island in the northern Sirion Sea. This island became the secret headquarters of the Dark Knighthood, and a fortress was constructed on it, known as Storm's Keep. By the year 370 AC, there were large numbers of warriors and lads who followed Ariakan. Storm Keep was nearly completed, and he had all but formed his knighthood as he promised Takhisis 13 years earlier. Ariakan officially named his knighthoods the Knights of Takhisis in honor of the Dark Queen, and when Ariakan set sail to conquer the continent of Ethankrathia and encountered the Tamarok, learning something of their history, Arian claimed to the warlike Tamarok that he was Amaril, their prophetized warrior cleric. The warrior was asked to prove himself in the arena, and in a battle that almost resulted in his death, he proved triumphant, and the Tamarok began to almost worship him. The Tamarok sailed back with Ariakan to Storm's Keep, where the blue-painted brutes prepared for war that Ariakan was soon to wage across Ansalon. And 13 years after that, in the year 383 AC, which would later become known as the Summer of Chaos, Ariakan launched a massive fleet which set across to conquer Ansalon. A small part of the fleet stopped on the island of the Hydra, but finding nothing on it, moved on, whilst other portions went to Enstar and Nostar on their way to Sanskrit. Within a very short amount of time, Nordamor, Solamnia, and Sanskrit, and most other parts of Ansalon have been conquered. In a few short months, the Knights of Takhisis, led by Ariakan, had conquered far more of the continent than his father Ariakas did, with the vast dragon armies. Qualanesti also fell under the rule of the Dark Knights. The majority of the fighting ended with the fall of the High Claris Tower and the city of Palantas, at which point the Dark Knights of Takhisis were poised to claim a total dominion over Ansalon. One of the only bastions that haven't been conquered by the Knights were the Sylvanosti elves, and that's because they erected a shield around their lands, protecting themselves and separating themselves from the rest of the world. Now, the arrival of the forces of Chaos ruined all of Ariakan's plans, as the legions of Chaos sprung up in every corner of Ansalon. The conquerors found themselves besieged and driven back, and were then forced to unite with their former enemies, even the Solamnic Knights, to try to turn back the tide. Ariakan led the defenses of the High Claris Tower atop the mighty red dragon Pyrex. However, an ambitious underling known as Aosric Krell was responsible for poisoning Ariakas's mount, which crashed and led to the warlord's death. The legions of Chaos swarmed over the tower, but were eventually defeated by Ariakan's knight Steel Brightblade. However, the ruler of the knighthood was slain, and his mourning mother Zibuim claimed his body. Now, following the War of the Souls, as the gods started to return back to the world, the god Camus revealed to his servant Aosric Krell that he had the soul of Ariakan in his possession. Camus had imprisoned the soul in a chess piece that he entrusted to his servant in Storm's Keep in the year 422 AC. Krell informed the goddess Zibuim of the location of her son Saul and used it as leverage for her aid in the upcoming plot of Camus. Zibuim swore to free Ariakan from his prison, but was forced to play Camus's game for the time being. At the behest of Zibuim, the Kender Nightshade Pricklepear and the former monk Reyes Mason journeyed to Storm Keep, where they tricked Aosric Krell and recovered Ariakan's chess piece. The adventurers returned the chess piece to Zibuim, who orchestrated the restoration of her son to his former form by bargaining with Camus. It is unknown what Ariakan will do now that he has been restored to life in the Age of Mortals. However, his desire for vengeance against Carol still rage. The reason behind what I believe that Ariakas has the largest body count in Krynn history is because 1. The creation of the Dark Knights helped conquer the entirety of Ansalon, and by that conquering, thousands were killed. But that action caused the Hydra to break the Grey Gem, releasing chaos on the world, bringing about the second cataclysm. And his Dark Knighthood will forever be a thorn in the side of good. Thank you very much, guys, for staying with me until the end. I hope you enjoyed this